Hello and welcome to this video. This is another field test of the Samaya Assaut2 8K. Tonight I'm going to look at this tent. I've also got my friend up in the Hilleberg Akto, and both tents are in and around the same weight, so I'll be doing a little bit of a comparison, because realistically for me, I own an Akto and I'm thinking as whether I'm going to keep this tent or whether I'm going to keep the Akto, and that'll depend on how this tent performs over the next number of times when I actually take it out. So also tonight hopefully we'll do a little bit on weather resistance. I'm going to show you me actually setting up the vestibule on the tent, and lastly of course we'll have further reports on condensation, so I really hope that you enjoy the video. So tonight I've actually set the tent up without the vestibule, just so that I can get in and easily organise my gear first of all before the vestibule is actually attached, and now obviously just assembling the pole. And I'm just going to orientate the vestibule here just in the shelter actually of the tent. So on the tent here it has an internal pole sleeve, and that's me just finding the position, and I'm just threading the pole through that, and I must admit it actually goes through very, very easy, even in this sort of, it's not high wind, it's probably about a 20-mile-an-hour wind. Now these have actually done this on me a couple of times, and it's a little bit fiddly, and Velcro is just Velcro, so and that just attaches around the pole. So it is pretty secure, but it just is also a little bit on the fiddly side. And then there's another one just down here as well. Luckily this Velcro hasn't got stuck. So this is just what it's like trying to put the fly sheet on when it actually is quite windy. And I'll just go around and do the same on the other side. So I think I was a bit unlucky with the other one in that the Velcro had got attached to itself, and these go around and they are actually quite secure. Now this is really the first time I've done this in the real world here, so just need a wee bit of practice. I'll maybe find a slightly better way to do it, but it is pretty secure. And then the pole just simply pops down in here. We're pretty much there. It's just a matter of pegging this out now. And now it's just a matter of securing out the guy lines, and I'll just check everything to see if it all looks okay. Alright, good morning. I decided just not to film last night and wait until now. So look, there are three areas that I want to sort of discuss then regarding sort of this tent, and that's its performance and some of the other features compared to the Hilleberg Akto. I want to discuss the vestibule because it's an add-on to my previous video, and I want to discuss condensation. So just as I know you guys are all looking for the condensation, I'm going to go to it first. So last night in the tent, for the second time that I've used this tent, zero condensation. I mean, absolutely nothing. Now the vestibule here has condensation, but the inner tent here, no matter whether I look at the side walls, the roof, the floor, everywhere in the tent is bone dry. Now last night there's a bit of a slope on the ground, and the DCF, or the fabric on the ground sheet, is a bit slippy, and my sleeping pad, you can actually probably even see now, is touching this. So I was slipping down and my feet were touching, the bottom here. Sleeping bag, nothing. I mean, completely bone dry. I'll show you now how much I had the tent vented. And I didn't really have it vented aggressively at all because it was quite cold last night. And there just wasn't any condensation. Now, there could be certain conditions where I could come up here or anywhere and it could be really wet, it could be raining, and I might have to completely seal the tent, and that would be a greater challenge. But a tent still is a portable structure, and at the end of the day, I bought a tent because I reckoned it would work for me, and so far it's working for me 100%, and I'm absolutely delighted because the condensation hasn't even been any form of challenge to the tent. So 10 out of 10 if I was given it, 10 out of 10 for condensation management so far. Right, the vestibule. So this vestibule is an add-on to the tent, and it weighs about 600 grams. So the tent on its own is 1500, and the vestibule takes it up to about 2.1 kilos. The vestibule is massive. It's obviously the width of the tent, but the lengthwise is brilliant. I think it's 125 centimeters. I'll stick it up down in the bottom of the video here, just in case it's more or less than that. But it's the start of the vestibule is where the camera is set up at the moment. I've got my pack in here. This is a 60-litre pack, and there's just tons of room. In fact, if I needed to get changed or anything, and I was wet and I needed to get changed inside the tent, I could inside the vestibule and not inside the tent, I could do that here. There is absolutely tons of room. So the extra additional volume that you get and the space, I'm not going to demonstrate cooking, but I mean, for me, cooking here, the space, excuse me, is phenomenal. I mean, it's a great add-on, and I think even for the 600 grams, I think unless it's a really nice evening, I'll be using this vestibule. Now, some of the features in the vestibule, you've got pockets on either side, which is nice. I mean, I really like my pockets in the tent. I never fill them or put too much into them, but I just sort of think there's no reason why the manufacturer can't give them to you. One of these here would weigh about 3 grams, so it's great that there are pockets on both sides. So the vestibule, I think, is a great add-on. I think it's great the way that it is actually modular, and I think I'd probably be using it for most of my camps, but some of my camps in the summer or winter, if I knew it was going to be a really nice evening and I was going to be sitting outside, I'd save the weight of 600 grams and actually just take the tent on its own. I did say I was going to compare it a little bit just against my Hilleberg Akto, and that's just simply because I own both the tents, and I may end up at some stage keeping one and selling the other. And the attraction of this tent is just the space in it for a similar weight. This tent as it's set up now, 2.1 kilos. The Akto as it's set up now, again in around 2 kilos because I'm using the footprint with it. And I think in the Akto, because the interior actual sleeping area is quite small, if you have the footprint, it means that you can use the whole of the vestibule as well as a sort of like a living area. And I hope I'm explaining this okay, and that just gives you a lot of room to work and do things. So I really advocate the footprint for the Akto, because the fly sheet comes right down to the ground, everything is sealed off, and you have so much more room to do everything. It's really a worthwhile add-on, but it takes a weight around 2 kilos. This, I have a little footprint. It's a very lightweight footprint, but with this, with the footprint, would be about 2.2. So for the extra 200 grams, personally for me, I've just got so much more space, and particularly seated up space and lying down space and vestibule space, although the vestibule on the Akto with it being on the sides is very practical and easy. If you're lying down, you can kind of if you're lying down on your side, you can reach everything, whereas here you've got a lot more distance. Okay, I mean, and wind resistance last night, or weather resistance, not really a lot happening there. 15 odd mile-an-hour winds, and I've taken some video footage of the tents, which you can kind of see now. There's maybe a little bit more panel flapping in the Akto, just simply because it's supported by one pole, whereas this is supported by 2, and there's more actual fabric or unsupported fabric, whereas this is maybe slightly more stable. But as you would expect, both tents are pretty good in these types of conditions. So that's about it. I'm going to be doing more testing in this tent. I know you're dying to see this condensation. I'll have it out again. I'll try and pick a night where I'm going to get, well, I mean, the next time I test the tent there will be something else happening, because I'm not going to video it unless there is. So it'll either be higher winds or a more condensation inducing environment, and we'll see how that goes. Right, thank you for watching then. You can have a look at the previous video if you want, and also I have done an unboxing video to see the way that this tent is packaged, and the tent is packaged really, really well. Full disclosure, I will just quickly add in, Samaya sent me this tent. I'm not under any obligation at all. It was for previous work that I had done for them, and they didn't even mention reviewing the tent, so I don't have to review it, or they don't have any input into that. So it's completely my own personal thoughts about the tent, and I sort of thought, yeah, I'll definitely review it, because I think it would be good for the channel and be interesting. And I also selected this particular model, and so far it's working really, really well for me.